Welcome to episode number 42 of the Between Two Brands podcast. On this very rainy day, I am your host, Bill Petrie, and I'm so glad you've joined me today. Thank you so much. I think we've got a fun show, got a good show today, great guest. Before we get to that, as always, I like to pay the rent a little bit. So, hey, you know it's coming, right? I'm not talking about the holidays. I'm talking about the Super Bowl of the promotional products industry, the PPAI EXPO, taking place January 12th through the 15th, 2026, in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, you know about the great education on conference day, the over 1 million square feet of exhibits from more than 900 companies, showcasing over 250,000 products, and the unmatched networking opportunities to kick off the year. But do you know about the unforgettable moments that are going to happen there? How about the pitch that returns Monday, January the 12th, as the industry's boldest suppliers step on the stage with just 3 minutes to sell you why their product stands out? It's always a showstopper. Right after that, you've got the opening reception at Skyfall Panoramic Lounge, and there's no better way to kick off your expo experience than networking with the industry's best while soaking in the stunning views of the Las Vegas Strip. And hey, how about that expo party? It's going to be hosted at Allegiant Stadium on Wednesday, January the 14th, and this promises to be the ultimate tailgate with food, drinks, games, and of course, fantastic networking. Now, look, you can either sit in the stands and passively watch as this goes by, or you can get off the bleachers and get into the game by registering for the PPAI Expo today at ppai.org/expo. Now, trust me, this is one event you really can't afford to miss. All right. So I always look on the internet for things I want to talk about in this little preamble. And I don't know why I call it the preamble, but let's roll with it, right? A lot of times it's industry focused. This is not necessarily industry focused, it's business focused. And it's a article that ran across my transom, and I thought it sparked a lot of interest in me. And it's about work spying. Now, a lot of, the pandemic moved a lot of people in office environments home, which kind of forced the rise of Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and businesses have really struggled to adapt in terms of managing their employees. Um, in fact, what they've done, if you remember, there are some certain products, they would monitor people's mouse movements to see if their little green "I'm active on my computer" was on when people worked remotely. And there were even products, workers could buy to mimic those mouse movements to keep that active green light on. Now, in the last 12, 18, 24 months, there's been a very big push to return to the office, even like companies for like Google, like Amazon, like Zoom, ironically enough. So what grabbed my attention this week is Microsoft Teams is rolling out an update for your micromanaging middle manager. Now it's set to arrive in December. Microsoft Teams will automatically detect when an employee arrives in the office by monitoring their connection to building Wi-Fi. So, for example, if you're working on site and step out for a moment, Teams is automatically going to change your work location once it notices you've disconnected. Um, wow, we really have developed a work culture of distrust, haven't we? And I really loathe that. That's what we've created, this work culture of distrust, when it really should be a culture of progress and collaboration. We are so weirdly attached to, and I mean the global we, are so weirdly attached to focusing on time in the office or specific times at the computer. And we need to stop doing that. We need to start focusing on results. And I'll be the first one to call myself out. I used to be this way. I used to be very focused on, work starts at this time, it ends whenever it ends, but at the very least, it ends here around this time. And you need to work during those certain hours. Now, before I get into this, a little bit about myself, look, there are certain job functions that are during specific times. Customer service comes to mind. Customer service phones and accounts need to be monitored during specific times. I'm talking about the majority of like creative work and sales and so on and so forth that can happen at many different hours at many different times. Like I said, I used to be this way. I remember when I was running Promo Corner. And I had an employee, Brandon Petrich, many of you know. I was hell bent that he needed to be in the office at a certain time and stay at least till a certain time. And it didn't work for him. It just didn't. He did his best work in hours that were not your typical 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. And when I loosened up on that, and he and I discussed that, and he convinced me, hey, let me work when I do my best work. And when I allowed him to work when he wanted, where he wanted, and how he wanted, he did better work. He was much more productive and he was much happier, at least I believe he was. We measured the deliverables. Are things getting done on time? Is the quality of the work where it needs to be? And I will tell you, he performed at least as good, if not better. He hit deadlines. And like I said, I'd argue he was happier. And he did it because he did his best work in non-traditional work hours. I'm the same way for Brandivate here. There are times I'm working till whatever. I worked till like almost 10 o'clock last night. I'm not saying that to be a humble brag. It's just what needs to be done sometimes. And there are days where I take a Friday off here and there because I need that type of break from the business. So I think what this is telling me is I don't like this team's rollout at all. I think it's terrible. I think the way we try to monitor and measure productivity by time spent at a computer is really dumb. And I would like us to move more in the direction of measuring results. So my advice to anybody who's thinking of turning this little update on for your Microsoft Teams, which by the way is still the worst of all of the video conferencing software tools out there. It's just terrible. My advice is this: find the right people and give them rope. Now, I have a whole theory about rope. I have a rope theory when it comes to employees. What does that mean? Rope is this: you find the right people and you hand them rope. What the rope is, it's all the training they need, the tools they need, the support that they need to do their job. You give an employee that rope, and it's up to them to do what they will with it. Some people will use that rope to climb up and climb higher, and that's awesome. Some people will use that rope to pull other teammates along, also awesome. And some employees, because we're not perfect in hiring, some employees will use that rope and hang themselves. And what I mean by that is they won't do the job. They're just not a good fit for the organization. And that happens. But you need to measure results and see what employees do with that rope instead of worrying about what time of day they're working. Measure the results, and I think you'll find a much happier work culture and work environment. All right, before we get to my guest today, I'm pretty excited about it. Hey, one more bill to pay. Many people know how to build a business, but so few understand not only when to sell your business, but the process involved to ensure that you find the right partner and maximize the return on your investment. Now, honestly, it's where you need an expert, specifically a promotional products industry expert to help you, which is where our good pals over at Certified Marketing Consultants come in. Now, Jamie Watson and her team have decades of experience facilitating private company sales in the branded merchandise space. Now, to help you evaluate if it's time to sell your business, reach out to Certified Marketing Consultants at info@certifiedmarketing.com for a confidential discussion today. All right, let's go ahead and get to our guest. My guest today really doesn't need an introduction, but let's waste some of his time, my time, and your time by doing it anyway. He's a chief strategy officer at HIT Promotional Products, one of the largest suppliers in our promotional products industry. With a focus on innovation, automation, and technology driven fulfillment, he leads strategic initiatives that connect manufacturing, logistics, and digital commerce. He's a lot smarter than I am, that's for sure. He's also involved in the day-to-day operations of Profil Solutions, a $100 million third-party logistics company specializing in corporate merchandise programs and print-on-demand fulfillment. A recognized thought leader in the branded merchandise space, he is passionate about the practical applications of AI, automation, data analytics in driving the future of our industry. Please join me in welcoming my very good friend, my brother Tato, Jon Norris. Jon, thank you for doing the podcast with me.
A lot of big words for me to say. How the hell are you, Bill?
I'm doing great. A lot of big words. You wrote them. I mean, you supplied
Oh,
the.
no, AI wrote them. I just pumped it some bullet points. So, but
I thought
let's
you
not
say I
steal the
pumped.
thunder
I thought
there.
That's not the B word I thought you were going to say when you said I pumped it. I thought you were going to say you pumped it full of bullshit, but I know it's all true. That's the worst part. So John and I, we had to reschedule. So if you're watching this on video, I'm wearing something completely different than when I recorded the first part of this podcast yesterday, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. John, I just have some questions. Knowing us, we're going to go a couple different directions. So I just have some questions to get to know you better, uh, and maybe our audience gets to know you a little bit better.
Love it,
Now,
Bill. Love it.
you started in this industry right out of school, SUNY Buffalo, and spent 20 years working your way up at Starline, ultimately ending up as the COO. I want to ask you about your journey in the company. Why was it important for you to spend so much of your career at Starline?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody goes through college hoping that they land a career in the promotional merchandise space, right? I think it's the
It's
utopian college dream.
Yeah, it's
Um,
what dreams are made of. I remember my parents' one wish for me as a small child growing up in Plano, Texas, was that I would apply whatever skills I had in the branded merchandise space, and they were actually using that term back then in the early '70s, which is bizarre.
yeah, no. So my background, undergraduate background, is industrial engineering. So
Mhm.
obviously lends itself well with branded merch. But my first job out of college or internship out of college was with Starline doing time studies on the manufacturing floor. So just literally sitting out there within what 2005 with a clipboard and a stopwatch for hours on end, and just being like, "All right, well, you produced 27 pieces of drinkware in the last minute and a half. Good for you." And then I would tally all this stuff down and then go put it in Excel files and create all these labor studies and time studies and standards, and literally did this for an entire year, which is the
You
worst.
made I did it make you pretty popular in the building?
Oh, you know what everybody loves is somebody watching them work with a stopwatch. And you follow
Yeah.
them around and you ask them questions about what they're doing all day. It's a lovely position to be in.
So did you count steps? And the reason I ask is back when I was with Halo, they brought in efficiency experts to make sure they were streamlining how orders were processed. And one of the metrics was how many times someone had to get up and physically walk over to someone else and bring an order. And they counted steps. I'm not joking.
Yeah, we were, and then yeah, that was another study we did is touch points per order, right? This is when we were physically
Yep.
moving jobs through the facility, right? So you'd be like, all right, in order just to get it out of order entry, it was touched 9 times, right? The back and forth of going like bringing it to art, bringing it back, like this grossness, right? So that was my, I guess, initial soiree into branded merch. Great way to kick it off. But from there, essentially, it was, hey, here's the things we need to do. Sorry, you need a lot of software and data and analysis to be able to do this. So I'm like, well, I don't know any of that stuff. So I went back to school, got a master's, taught myself some data analysis, some basic programming, database tools, and was able to come back and then work with our development and software and IT teams to integrate essentially, hey, I have all this data. What can we do with it to make ourselves a little bit more productive, streamlined, all that fun stuff? And this was for 3, 4 years out of college still. So
Ah,
after
big
banging,
stuff. Big
yeah,
job.
it's great stuff. So after banging heads
Yeah.
with the software development team for years, essentially took them over because I was like, hey, like you know, we need to solve these problems within the business and outside the business, and got really hands-on with just operations by essentially managing the systems, the software, and so progressed from engineer to kind of running the dev team to then getting back into operations because I was like, all right, now that we've built these tools, let's go implement them and make some changes. And
Yeah.
then just kind of trudged through operations on that side, weaponizing whatever IT skills I had along the way, and then landed as a COO. Here we are.
Yeah, and I've known you for a long time, and you are definitely my definition of someone who, when you identify a problem, if you don't have the specific skills to, at that moment, solve that problem, you're not only going to get a team around you to help you do it, but you're going to learn it yourself. You're such a hands-on person. I've always loved that about you. Looking back, John, what are the accomplishments you're most proud of in your time at Starline?
We built an entire ERP with a bunch of interns in 2.5 years, right?
Holy
Freaking
crap.
nuts, right? It was because we were like, oh man, it's like this is going to take. We kind of did that analysis, like, all right, we knew that we had a customized system, but we're like, we don't want to go out and spend all this money and time on some sort of canned system that's not going to work for us. I'm like, let's just build one. But then we're like, man, it's going to take forever. It's going to be millions of dollars. I'm like, well, what if we build a system that we can open up a development office across the street from University of Buffalo, recruit their computer science interns, and then give them requirements and just essentially dumb it down. That's a wrong bad word, but like skill it down so much that these interns can just
Mhm.
take these requirements and help
Yeah,
us build an ERP. And that's what we did.
that's great.
Labor of love, but yeah, it was wild. It was,
I bet.
but then I mean, that's another thing. Is then you learn every aspect of, from order to cash. You learn exactly how
Mhm.
every piece of the business works, and
Yeah,
that's powerful in an organization.
100%. Now you left 2 years ago, almost exactly. You left in October of 2023, and you joined HIT. Why was that the right fit for you for the next stage of your career?
I get to work for, well, probably I would say one of the greatest bosses in the industry, Mr. CJ Schmidt.
CJ. Yeah, CJ's
I think
awesome.
the
Such a visionary, always has been.
Yeah, well, it's just that I would before this golf call with him where he's, trying to map out the next year of automations and what systems we need to be able to drive more, labor efficiencies and just pure end-to-end automations in our system. So it's the scale, right? Why hit? Because you can have all the greatest ideas in the world, or you can have crappy ideas, whatever, but seeing them through at scales, there's some things where,
Yeah.
we have a lot of robotics, right? Robotics, it doesn't make sense at a lot of companies if you aren't processing 5,500 orders a day, or if your distribution center isn't going to take in 250,000 orders over a weekend, right? It's those scaled problems are a challenge, fun challenge, I think.
Hmm.
Some days not as fun on the challenging side, but I think that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And obviously, a ownership family who is willing to take risky investments into the future, and I would say degrees of success for payoff. It's a great environment to be in.
I love it. And you know, I've known CJ for years, worked with him on boards. We'll get to that in a little bit. But one of the things that I've always admired about CJ is he could very easily kind of just rest on what's been built. He does not have to be as restless as he is. And I don't think I've ever met anyone with the motor he has. It's always thinking, always going. And I've
I
always
got an
admired that
email
about
at
CJ.
5 a.m. this morning from him asking why this one order was off by $1. All right. Now, no, we took in
Yeah.
5,500 orders yesterday. He finds the dollar
Finds the
variance.
one.
Huh, it's great. It's incredible.
That
I'm telling
is.
you,
No,
it is unexplainable, the drive.
yeah, it's fantastic. Now, you've long been an advocate of promo standards. Why is that initiative so critically important to the industry? I know the answer to that, but I want you to explain it for people who may not really understand what promo standards is and why it's so damn important.
Yeah. So I think for the last decade, and I think we're hearing less of it now, is you heard the mantra of the Amazon-like experience, right? Where you can essentially connect your supply chain and place an order seamlessly through some sort of tool or site or piece of software, and then without having to talk to 17 people, you get your order in a few days.
Right.
And I think we as an industry have realized that if we don't need to be able to produce Prime and have something show up by 3 p.m. today, but the market has reset itself in expectations. And if we as an industry don't react to that, I think you just stare down extinction.
Yep.
So our group, we got a group of technologists together. It's like, well, this has to start with being able to electronically communicate across the supply chain in a standardized way. The way before it was happening is HIT would integrate with Halo, and then HIT would integrate with Geiger, and then HIT would integrate with
Yeah.
Staples, and it would be,
All
three different
different.
sets of code, and then it'd be three different sets of code for each of those distributors. Like this isn't sustainable, right? We operate this many to many multi-verse, platforms. We have to communicate on the same technological lines. And I think we've successfully done that. PromoStandards will process billions of data transactions this year. I know HIT alone will probably do a billion and a half data transactions through PromoStandards across like inventory, order status feeds,
Yep.
purchase orders, right? These are really impactful pipelines that allow distributors, service providers, suppliers to go out and then use these tools and improve their supply chain efficiency.
I love it. I've been, there's been several attempts at this before. And I will say that what you and Eric and everybody else at Promo Standards have done is finally get this right in terms of adaptation. And it's fantastic. And again,
And it,
we're in an industry where people hate change, and you're asking
it,
them to change.
and it was just it was a technology collaboration across the entire
Yeah.
industry, right? It wasn't one company or one for-profit entity saying this is how we're going to do it. It's like, hey,
No,
does this work for your business? Does this work for your business? Okay, let's do this. So,
it's a group of for-profit individuals and company getting together to better the industry is really what it is. And I don't think people really realize that. I'm sure there are some people think it's very self-serving. And from an efficiency standpoint, I guess you could make that argument, but I would make the argument it's self-serving for everyone who adopts it. It's
yep.
not doesn't benefit one company over another. It benefits everybody. I love it. I love it. You and I both spent quite a bit of time as a chef in Promo Kitchen. You might still be a chef in Promo
Still
Kitchen.
am, Bill. Still am.
Okay. Okay.
I have taken on your role as the person who asks a lot of questions. So,
Ah, the fly in the ointment. That was my
yes.
role for the last couple of years I was there. But it's good to be that role and ask questions and why do we do certain things. So, how does volunteering your time in Promo Kitchen, how has that impacted your career?
I think it's opened my eyes that there is a large sector of the industry that is very interested in giving back and helping out, right? I think the biggest thing that PromoKitchen has done across its 10, 15 years, I think 15 now, is the
Yeah, that's
mentorship.
15 because, yeah, absolutely. Cool agree.
Yeah, that mentorship program is incredible, right? So you're connecting suppliers, distributors, old like veterans with rookies. And there's a very passionate group of making that happen. And then just overall education for the industry. It's good to have a group and a nonprofit that it isn't beholden to anybody and kind of can beat its own drum and drive the initiatives and drive mentorship, right? I'm just a huge advocate for the mentorship program in Promo Kitchen. And there's just a passionate
Absolutely.
group of people. The mentorship group has changed and rolled over 4 or 5 times over the course of Promo Kitchen, and every time
Yep.
I just think it gets more passionate and a different spin. But I think it just those minor tweaks keep making it better.
100%. When you and I were in the same chef class when we
Yep.
joined Prima Kitchen as chefs, and back in and this was what 2013 maybe when we rolled on something like that.
13.
And back then, I don't think people know this. And you're right, by the way, the victory flag for Promo Kitchen is mentorship, 1000%. But when we rolled onto the board, it was tracked on an Excel spreadsheet.
The
And
Excel file ran the program. Don't
it was
delete the file.
yeah, it was exceptionally low rent. It was very effective, but from a process perspective and keeping track, it was very difficult. And like you said, you've had some really passionate people roll through there and really take ownership of that. Always look at it a little differently, but with the same outcome in mind that we are the conduit for mentorship in the industry, and it's not something ASI has been able to do. It's not something PPAI has been able to do, and I think that's Promo Kitchen's best legacy. And like you, I mean, I can't even count how many times I've mentored people through that program. I continue to do it through this day. It's really something that's pretty special. Looking forward, now I rolled off the board 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago, I decided it was time that there were some other voices. Looking forward, how would you like to see Promo Kitchen evolve to continually serve the industry?
Yeah, my, I guess, passion or vision for Promo Kitchen is to white label the mentorship program and create a playbook for how, and maybe an overarching oversight of how individual companies and organizations and associations can roll out a mentorship program in their business and maybe be like powered by Promo Kitchen, right? It's just the ability of like, hey, we've seen this work. Here's the pros and cons, and here's where it gets hung up. Here's the success playbook to put this in, maybe a regional, maybe top, top 40 supplier, top 40 distributor, or maybe a international organization, another association. I think it will be the lasting impression of Promo Kitchen is getting a much wider net of tentacles into these organizations that's stems off of the original foundings of Promo's Kitchen.
Yeah, and it's such a great, vibrant organization. I think Ashley Coletti is still the board chair. And I'll tell you, for those of you who just think Promo Kitchen is just a party in Vegas, it is so much more than that. It is truly a group of caring, passionate individuals who want the best for this industry. So, you're interested in learning more, head over to promokitchen.org. Not a commercial forum, but they do such good work, and I'm proud to have been a very small part of that. Now, John, in industry circles, you're known for a lot of things, including digital transformation. How do you see digital transformation impacting the industry both positively but also negatively?
I mean, this is just a two-letter answer here. It's got to all be about
AI.
AI, right? It's
Yeah.
and I hate that that's the answer because that's probably the answer that if you ask this question to 99% of the industry, that's what they would give you. But
Yeah, but you're going to give me an answer that because you understand AI, I think a lot more than most people, and that's not to belittle anybody else, but you really do understand it. So I really want your perspective on it.
yeah, look, I think the biggest impacts that we've seen and are seeing is the those jobs that we shipped out decades ago are
Mhm.
essentially being replaced. And so, being replaced by AI, being augmented by AI, the order entry, the artwork, making graphics, decks, things like that. I would say that's not the low-hanging fruit because we've already, as an industry, started chipping away at that aggressively.
Yeah.
I mean, the HIT right now is will process about 75% of our orders today via AI, right?
Okay.
That is an incredible number, and and so it's the negative side of it is, we're not looking to AI to just come in and like chop through
Right.
positions, right? We're at the phase of like, how can we augment and create a better experience and make our people more productive through AI, which I guess is the corporate line, but that's the reality of it is,
But there's,
we are
yeah,
going
there's
to take
basis
the,
in that.
yeah, look, if I can replace a lot of the outsourced stuff that we've done, as a organization, like fortunately, we are very fortunate. We have Raj, our CIO, who is probably
Right.
the AI thought leader in this industry. And we've partnered with a professor at USF who
Mhm.
runs the data science and AI department there. And we have, access to incredible minds in this arena. It's wild every day. I mean, we're trying
Yeah.
to essentially build out these MCP servers, which is a very technical term that is going to allow us to essentially chat GPT our entire organization top to bottom, have it, be able to do real-time analysis, real-time event handling, error reporting, the
Yeah.
whole gamut, empower our sales team to quickly have every piece of data at their fingertips and create actionable events and, automate a lot of the noise that is in the background and let humans use their human brains and go out and be creative.
Yeah,
So
I look at it from a marketing perspective because that's where I live, right? I'm not, and I use AI every day. And what the positive things, it helps me be more efficient. And it's an exceptional collaborator because I train a specific GPT for every client and even for myself as a client of my own and to learn voice and things like that. So it's a great collaborator. Are things on brand? Are things sound the right way and all that? The negative thing I'm seeing is that so many people don't know how to write effective prompts. And so it is the definition of garbage in, garbage out. If you
oh
don't
yeah,
write effective prompts and you just write something, it's so easy to see. And it's not just the M dashes, it's a lot of other cues and ticks. If you just, I, and I see it just like people posting on social media and all the weird emojis all of a sudden and all these other things. It's
it's
crazy, but it is such an incredible collaborator. It makes me more efficient. I couldn't do what I do at the velocity in which I do it without AI.
I
A lot of
I
content.
love watching people not check their work of what is
Yeah,
it's hey, it kicked this out, and then I'll run through their data analysis and be like, hey, this is wrong. Like you didn't even look at this. Like this math does not math. You literally copied whatever this thing told you and you YOLO'd it into an email to hundreds of
yeah.
people.
It's
So
crazy because it's like a lot of times you're dealing with a hyper intelligent fifth grader. It's seriously because it can be truly transformative, but again, you have to read it, you got to check the work, you've got to like people who just dump stuff in there and copy and paste, stop doing that shit. Stop doing that shit.
Yeah, I look
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
That's what like our big thing is that we're chasing is agentic AI, right? We're creating agents
Yeah.
for every role, every
Yeah.
group, and then essentially
Absolutely.
we will build out an army of agents that can then supplement and help our employees be, more productive.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Last question. Last question. You're a huge Buffalo Bills fan. Huge Buffalo Bills fan. I've got a couple questions for you. Number one, can Josh Allen actually lead your team to a Super Bowl in the final year of what I'm still going to call Rich Stadium?
Yeah. Rich Stadium, Ralph Wilson Stadium, whatever you want to call it, whatever now
Empower
sponsor
Field at Rich
is sold.
Stadium.
When we started 4-0, I was like, yes, this is the year. Double
Yeah.
back-to-back losses to the Patriots and Falcons were a gut check, but I'm still convinced this is the year. I'm not sure Buffalo's ready for that. The town might get burned down.
I,
Um, but I will be there for it if that happens. So it, I don't know. We're Chiefs this weekend. What's going to happen? We'll stomp the Chiefs like we do every regular
yeah.
season and then meet them
And
again in the
everybody will say
playoffs.
it's your year. You're back. Yeah.
Back,
As
baby.
just a as just a fan of football, and of course I'm a Cowboys fan, and I have an owner who's far more interested in oil wells in East Texas than building a football team.
Right?
Um, I would love to see the Bills win. It's such a passionate fan base. I still want to see a game up there, and so that leads to my second question. So they've played in the municipal stadium for 35, 40, maybe 50 years, a long,
Yeah,
long, long time.
like
The
75.
new stadium, yeah, the new stadium opens next year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I love that it's outdoor. It is still outdoor, which I didn't think they were going to do.
Crazy.
How many season tickets are you going to buy
John
using
Norris
HIT
already
money?
has his season tickets for the new stadium, so
Okay.
we don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we got lucky. Kind of got
Awesome.
in early into the process. The PSLs are neat.
Yeah.
Great timing for the Bills, right? You have Josh
Yeah.
Allen, number one team in the league, and now you can jack up your PSL prices, and then something's going to
Absolutely.
happen, and then we will be in back to perpetuity of just the suck for 20 years. But so after you get over
Well,
that. No, it's 70% of the seats are
it's
covered.
worth it though. Yeah, but
It's
here's the thing. If you win the Super Bowl, and I
everyone.
would love for you guys to do, it's worth 20 years of suck. I am a Texas Rangers fan. They had one glorious lightning in a bottle year. I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
totally
I, just,
good. It's fine.
I don't need two. I don't need a dynasty. I just want one.
No, no, I totally get it. Totally get it. All right, before we say goodbye, let me thank our sponsor for this. Hey, big thanks to our pals over at PPAI. That's the Promotional Products Association International. For those of you scoring at home, now is the time to register for the Super Bowl of promo, the PPAI EXPO. Now, with over 1 million square feet of exhibit space, over 900 exhibiting suppliers, possibly HIT Promotional Products, possibly not. I'm
For
just
sure.
kidding.
We'll be
Of
there.
course, they're going to be there. They're going to have a giant footprint and unmatched networking opportunities. This is the one industry event you cannot afford to miss. Register today at ppai.org/expo. John, I know you're a busy guy. Really appreciate you taking the time, and it's always good to chat with a friend. I mean, you and I could talk for about another 5 hours and not cover all the things I'd love to cover. So thanks again for taking the time.
All right. Thank you, brother Tato.